Come back, you are up front here on ENCA. The State Capture Commission has adjourned for the week. The testimony of Hawks head Godfrey Lebeya has been postponed as well for further investigation. Earlier on, the Commission chair had some stern words for his team about their apparent tardiness. For more than on the first week of testimony, I'm joined by ENCA's Aaron Bates, who's been tracking it all for us. So, Aaron, give me a sense. My sense is the State Capture Commission of Inquiry is not out and galloping as many would have expected, given the timelines that they have. First week of January 2020 doesn't seem to have gotten off to a pacey start.
Well, consider this week where we've only had 3 days, if even 2.5 days of proceedings compared to the first week of 2019 when we had this, amazing testimony, jaw-dropping, galling, all the rest of it from Angelo Agrizzi. He really galloped ahead and was one of the longest sitting witnesses on the stand. Now we're in a situation where today's evidence is dead in the water, and that's because the chairperson has doubts about how pertinent the statement of Lebeya is to the terms of reference of the Commission. And he actually got quite irate to us, speaking to the very point you've raised about time being of the essence here. Let's take a look.
I don't remember seeing anything in the statement that necessarily connects or that says that it was because Ms. Piecha had become aware of his role in that regard. I don't remember seeing something that is to that effect. What does appear from the statement is that Ms. Piecha, quite early after she had arrived, seemed to ignore him in circumstances where he was one of her deputies, seemed to ignore him and didn't include him in the Dumela sessions that she was going around about. And of course, a number of things emerged from the statement that seem to suggest that for some reason she either didn't like him or didn't want to give him the recognition that he deserved. But what is not clear is what that reason is and whether that reason would be something connected with anything in the terms of reference.
And Chair,
Well, actually, after I'd finished reading the statement, I wondered whether it's not premature to hear Dr. Lebeya's evidence, because the question that I had was, has there been proper investigation of the issues that are dealt with in the statement?
So, Aaron, this was just part of what the chairperson had to say, but, he's not impressed with the administrative processes of the legal team, right, that is responsible for making sure that witnesses appear before him. When we say he's not happy with the administrative processes, demonstrate that for us. What are the things that have made him unhappy this week?
Well, another issue which came up yesterday was the incorrect annexures being sent to Toshan Pandey, the politically connected businessman accused of criminality in KwaZulu-Natal, this over police contracts for things like accommodation during the World Cup and supplying various goods to the police, including generators. And Pandey received a notice from the Commission on the 19th of December 2019. He was sent annexures, but he was sent annexures intended for his mother. And it seems that this was because both witnesses or both implicated persons had the same surname. That very day, the 19th of December 2019, his attorney wrote to the Commission to alert the Commission that they'd received the wrong annexures. Between then and yesterday's beginning of proceedings in the morning, Pandey still didn't have the right documents, even though his lawyers had alerted the Commission to this very issue.
Wow.
And it speaks to cracks in the administration of the inquiry and its secretariat. And today, to demonstrate in answer to your question, Zondo's grievances here, he actually said, I blame the legal team in relation to not determining whether or not Lebeya's statement falls within the terms of reference. And Zondo also said the legal team is responsible for guiding investigators. So he really has put the blame in this matter, and losing a day, time is of the essence, says Zondo, at the feet of the legal
And we're
team.
not even going to delve into their application to summons former President Jacob Zuma. But the bottom line is the chairperson, Justice Raymond Zondo, wants the team to get their house in order.
Do their homework is what Zondo said today, and he was very aggrieved, clearly irate at what was going on. He is quite a composed chairperson and goes with the job, but banged the table at one point, showing his frustration at losing a day and him saying, we don't have time to waste effectively, time is of the essence, every hour is critical.
Right, so let's talk a bit then, Aaron, about the week in perspective. So we've heard from some law enforcement witnesses. These include we were supposed to have someone, Johan van Lochrenberg.
Yes, and not the Johan van Lochrenberg of SARS. This is Colonel Johan van Lochrenberg, retired of the Scorpions and the Hawks.
So what came out from, what's the big takeout from what we heard this week?
Well, Van Lochrenberg really corroborated a lot of what Johan Boysen said, and their allegations in summary are that the likes of the head of the NPA in KwaZulu-Natal at the time, acting NDPP Advocate Moipone Noko, and senior brass in the police service were protecting Pandey from prosecution. And Van Lochrenberg's claim and allegation is the reason Pandey was so protected when there was prima facie evidence, including bank records, bank notes with serial numbers traced back to the Pandey family, and evidence gathered through a sting operation where a senior police officer was bribed. They had all of that evidence, and yet it was ignored because Pandey was connected to Edward Zuma. They were business partners, and he clearly, in Van Lochrenberg's view and that of Boysen, had political protection, and therefore there was a whole strategy to keep him away from the courts and from prosecution.
All right, thank you so much, Aaron. So we're back at State Capture Inquiry next week.
Only next Monday, and bear in mind, Tulasat, this week from Wednesday to next week Wednesday was set down for law enforcement agencies. So this really is a rocky start to the 2020 proceedings of the inquiry.
All right, Aaron Bates, watching the State Capture Commissioner of Inquiry.